right, you guys can see that. Okay, I just want to say the only reason I started with victimize, I hate that word, is only because that was my reply to Laura Loomer. So let's read on. Hello, Cafecito Breakers. Producing content, podcasts, and reports for Cafecito Break is a full-time job. So imagine having to start over and over and over again, as we have needed to do with 10 channel takedowns on Instagram and YouTube video removals and strikes. We are media professionals from MTV turned indie. We are based in deep blue New York City. We are Puerto Rican patriots. In real life, we have been canceled by friends and professional colleagues, especially since the beginning of the COVID era, and we continue to experience censorship online. We are up to Cafecito 10.0 on Instagram. We have about 1,000 videos set to private. We have been around since 2011 and have produced over 1,000 podcasts, interview hundreds of people, have content in Spanish, which includes parodies, and our Cafecito library in its completion is nowhere to be found. We have and continue to experience censorship that makes a person want to say, fuck this, and to give up. Any comments?
It takes a toll. It really takes a toll because it's like, imagine you're in your 9 to 5 and you're just coming in, making sure you are checking all your check boxes, being the best worker you possibly can, and just you always being stepped on, or feeling like you're always being stepped on or not acknowledged, or maybe somebody replaces in a position that you've been working so hard for, and then someone just comes in and just you get seen, or you get stepped on, and somehow, no matter what you do, you never feel like you can get past a certain point within your career path. And you get to a point where you're like, it's exhausting, I've put in so many hours. You do get to places where you're like, should I stop? Should I say F this?
It feels defeating, especially since you're not doing it.
It is defeating.
You're not doing it to harm anyone. You're doing it to share information. You're doing it because you love the format of media and communication, and there's a responsibility. Alex, what have I been saying since day one of this even being a thought? Because this was a thought in my head for many since I was in college.
Yeah.
Since before that. And the reason I didn't do anything prior to that is because I knew one thing, that there's a big responsibility when you decide to start, especially when your intention is to reach people. Well, what are you saying? Are you being sensational? Are you doing something that's contributing in a helpful way? Well, we love politics and we like the medium of journalism. And what has happened to the landscape of media and communications, it just seems like it's become a big tabloid. And believe me, what we've ended up supporting in the present moment is not really what we set out to do. We really wanted to stay at Botanical. I wanted to create little podcasts and have community gatherings, focus on just community and wellness. This aspect that we've been doing was not at all in the plans.
We were thrown in.
We were just thrown in.
It's like life was just like, "Toma, girls."
I'm going to take us back. Let me see if I hit the right one. All right. So besides everything that I just shared there, this little clip in which I have a conversation with Michael Kane of Teachers for Choice, who was a special ed teacher in the New York City school system that said no to the mandates. He lost his job for saying no to the COVID vaccine for religious reasons. This is the man that I'm sharing a conversation with on a show called CHD TV, which is Children's Health Defense. They are a nonprofit filled with the bestest humans in the world that focus all of their content on children's health and defense, meaning that there are also a lot of lawyers, attorneys supporting this mechanism. One of those attorneys being Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So the other, okay, so this is my conversation as to what breaks us the most about about the censorship that we experienced. Cafecito break on Instagram, we've been taking down the platform 10 times already. One of the realizations that we had during COVID is little channels do get censored too. So we were taken down and suffering um, a very, very crazy amount of censorship at the same time that the doctors who were speaking up, or and people like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., which we respect so much and have been strong supporters for. When people like us in different places, especially in Deep Blue, we try to speak out, we do get censored. I mean, it's not just Cafecito Brig, it's anyone who is going against the grain and speaking common sense, talking about these things like, hey, we need to talk to each other. That is just, where's the public square? The public square got squashed during the Biden administration, and people like us, people like CHD, we were trying to get the truth out. And what weighs heavy on my heart still to today is that had we not experienced all this censorship, we might have been able to get the word out on the things that we were discovering regarding the COVID vaccine and the jabs and the masks, and maybe more lives could have been saved. So this is the hardest thing about all of this, I think.
Well, what I wanted to add is that when you are experiencing any level of censorship, it doesn't feel good ever. No one likes it. Pero I feel like the other thing that, and probably the bigger thing for all of us, is whether you realize it or not, is censorship has real life consequences. Real life consequences. The stopping the flow of free information from different perspectives does not allow people to regularly and easily access different ways of looking at something, different perspectives, or having even the proper questions. It doesn't matter even the topic. You don't want to focus on medical freedom? Okay, choose any topic. It's still going to fit. If folks are not allowed, but of course, obviously, certain areas are more important. Obviously, when it comes to health, that should always be numero uno, right? If folks are being fear-mongered or officially stopped from accessing content that can, absolutely affect their lives directly or their decision making directly, that to me is criminal. It goes past I'm offended. It goes past I'm hurt. It goes past all the hours of work that people lose. It starts hitting some criminal areas at some point. And as we're beginning to see little by little coming out in real time, real evidence of different ways that people were definitely censored.
We have so much to get into. To wrap out this story so we could jump and show you Cafecito Break 10.0 is my response to Laura Loomer and why I said, let me go back over here. Ay, Dios mío, we're so little now. Okay, we go. So the other day, Laura Loomer asked via X, if you have been victimized by Mark Zuckerberg, please share a personal story. And she encouraged people to share if they've suffered social media censorship from Mark Zuckerberg, which means either Meta, which means either Facebook, Instagram, maybe WhatsApp, but I focus on these two because I'm not on WhatsApp really. She stated that she would share with President Trump. So, we had to respond. So this is what she wrote. If you have been victimized by Mark Zuckerberg, please post your personal story below. I want to hear what happened to you and what he did to you. And then I'm going to make sure that I share all of the stories and send them to President Trump. I think I misread that. I shared. This is the comment I posted on X, which later inspired a more detailed post, which we're sharing with you. This is the comment we shared. Our Instagram channel was taken down 10 times. We continue to experience meta censorship. And then a reiteration of why it was hard because of what we shared. I shared with Michael on that video that, could lives been saved. And I conclude, folks have blood on their hands, and we should sue for social media reparations. That's my little face. I was very happy, but I was not very happy when I got multiple restrictions on Facebook.
Hi, vey.
Yes, but we have so much more to share. Look at our little faces. That's our handle 10.0, which we're going to find. Our original Cafecito break is in heaven, and so are the 1.0s and on.
She's evolved.
She's evolved.
Quite.
This is, in conclusion, social media censorship has impacted our podcast reach, tainted our reputation and business opportunities. Mi gente, this messed around with our livelihood, and it still has implications for us till this day. And being in New York City isn't helpful to us and our economics. Not with the people that we gave so much of our time and life to. They have not been a resource for us at all. We have experienced harsh censorship. Besides the 10 channel takedowns, there are also fact checks, shadow banning, video removals, our profiles hidden in the search bar, and there were pop-up questions, warnings that were sent to our followers who wanted to share our posts. Remember? Like, if especially during those COVID days, right? Like, first of all, you got lucky if you were able to find somebody. But they really put the fear in people, like, don't follow that person. That person is spreading.
Are you sure you want to
that
look
person
at
that? Is posting and is guilty of posting information that fact checkers have deemed
fear-mongering was real.
Thumbs down. What's another price that we've paid? Right? Stolen content, stolen time, stolen moments, precious images, videos, writings erased, gone without the opportunity to salvage or plead a case. Each time our channel was taken down, it felt like pieces of our soul went with it. The first takedown hurt the most. As media professionals, we are careful what we post. We didn't have a warning on Instagram. But in 2021, when the Biden administration came into power, that changed. We experienced 9 of those channel takedowns between October 2021 and December 2021. Let me know if you have anything to say. Abusive and slanderous. These fact checks, warnings, restrictions, and channel takedowns tainted our social media presence and impacted professional relationship and income opportunities. We had friends who celebrated our takedowns because meta promptings and fact checks impacted the way they engaged and view our content. Do you remember that? We had more people
still
upset.
That's still a thing.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. Our professional integrity has been the number one thing we have protected, and meta hurt our reputation. And another thing that really kind of hurt me is that, look, it's one thing to have to close your brick and mortar after 9 years. Another way, besides any little gig that I would be able to get, the Perez sisters would also get gigs often through Instagram via the Perez sisters page. Somehow none of those things have materialized. It impacted us on that channel right away. So it's been quiet.
It was hard because Cafecito Break was experiencing really a lot of like bullying and abuse and censorship, right? And affecting us in so many ways. But we were also experiencing this in a 3D version with our shop, our Crystal Metaphysical shop, Botanical, pretty much around the same time, where, you know, the government, the city is asking folks to close, making it the fear mongering, making it impossible for anyone to even want to be brave enough to come out and shop, having all of these policies, and all of these people coming in to bully you. So the tactics, we were experiencing a lot of parallel tactics within our physical shop. Similarly, around the same times as Cafecito Break was experiencing it through online. And so these are our bread and butters. These are, but even bigger than our bread and butters, well, just as important is it's our passion. It's what we love to do. We no matter what name it has had, it's always been about the community, and so and being of service to community. And it was also very difficult for us in such a time that created such anxiety and instability, having a shop where we specifically supported people around anxiety and instability, to deal with all that type of bullying and challenges to maintain already a shop that's hard to maintain, because small business in New York City, not easy, mi gente. But now during a time like that where people are really sort of needing that the most, we're losing it. It's being attacked. You're not helping me so I could help the community. So we were sort of experiencing levels of intrusion and
bullying and a lack of compassion. I have friends who were like, I'm like, yo, like, what's going on? Like, we see how they all are very supportive in certain communities. Like, are you guys being aware in any way for the small businesses? And one of them turned around and was like, your business is still there, right? What the fuck does that mean? Barely. No, we have a lot of catching up to still do. That was a business that was already approaching its 10th year, and we started Cafecito Break in 2011, so it's more than 10 years. So imagine it's 2020, and we have two entities that we have poured the two ways that we have decided to show up 100% in our lives, the 3D and the online digital event space. We lose it all. So we get crushed online, we lose our small business, and then the third piece was the nonprofit connection and all of those other little events that would come up. We lost that too,
because it was all tied.
It was all tied together. It was all tied to community. Like, we gave our life to community
at the end of the day. Yeah.
We gave our lives to serving our beautiful people. We have no regrets. What was a hard pill to swallow was the non-support from everyone, friends, families, colleagues, close people who were seeing what was happening right in front of their eyes. And the best thing that most of them could do was ask us to shut up, to stop stirring the pot too much.
Or just close it, because, no big deal.
So yeah, this is why this is a sour note. And it's why we're taking time to talk about it, because there hasn't been a time where we've given ourselves the space to talk about it. We haven't, I don't think, even begun to heal from the grief of having to close the shop, especially knowing that we have a mental health crisis and it's only gotten worse. And we were getting those kids during that lockdown season that there were no therapists to be found. There were no social workers to be found. Physically, they were all online.
Yeah.
And kids were craving a human face.
They needed it.
I
mean, the adults too were
So
seeking.
We were getting big kids, little kids talking to us in private. And we knew after a very short while that the math didn't make sense, that it made sense for us to have to close. And it was probably one of the hardest decisions to have to make, because it felt like we were letting our community down.
Yeah. The responsibility that we felt in that moment, particularly of our human history, to have had no choice but to move forward, knowing that we were playing a critical role. A role that was, like she was saying, a dying breed, because everybody was going online. I mean, mi gente, all of the medicine spaces, whether they were yoga spots, whether
everybody went online.
Nobody wanted to be face to face. All of a sudden, people who quote unquote were medicine folks were so afraid of humans. So during a time where it was so needed to have spaces and people saying, hey, I'm willing to do this. I want to work with people. And I also have the experience. I've been doing it already for all these years. It was not easy at all. It was very heartbreaking in that respect, because we know we could have been very helpful to many people. And so to have to be going through that, and then from the Cafecito Break side, to know that there's information that probably could be reaching people to support them. You
Mi
know,
gente, you
was
don't
sad.
understand.
It was just sad.
From the beginning of COVID, March 20, when we told you guys forced vax in March 2020, we told you guys the day before we officially went into lockdown, forced vaccinations were coming. So think about March 2020, who was still president? Donald Trump. We told you forced vaccinations were coming. How did we know that? Apparently, because we're not doctors and we're not claiming to be YouTube. What we're saying is we study. We take what we do serious. This is our life every single day. So when we're experiencing all this slipping and sliding, like to have friends to celebrate your takedowns because they've been brainwashed by Meta to demonize us. Our professional integrity has been the number one thing we have protected, and Meta hurt our reputation. Intrusive. Some of our channel takedowns on Instagram occurred when we were trying to send messages in private to our contacts. So if I'm trying to message Alex, all of a sudden a little prompting will come out on my end. It appears like you're trying to communicate with someone who doesn't want to receive your message. I might be paraphrasing, but isn't that a little scary? So I have built a connection with you. We follow each other. I'm sending you a message. I could understand if I was sending a message and I was like, that happens to people. We experienced it. Some people DM and DM and DM, and you're like, you're being a little abusive. We may have to restrict you. It wasn't anything like that. So isn't it scary that you lose channels just because of what you are communicating in private? Can we sit and think about that deeply?
Sad.
So any of you that communicate via DMs on Facebook, Instagram, do you really think it's private?
There's no privacy.
No privacy. Limits to expression. Even our parodies have gotten shadow banned. This is the latest one I created. What is my point here? This needs to be remedied. We want the opportunity to thrive in a social media space without these unnecessary censorship obstacles. We want our channel name back, Cafecito Break, and all of the content that was erased. That is our original name, Cafecito Break, not Cafecito Break 10.0, which doesn't want that. That looks like a fake name, and it doesn't inspire people to follow us on Instagram. Damages. What's the price of these damages that Meta has created? How can you even read? And this is why I came on and say that I think folks like us deserve social media reparations. I don't really love that word, but I think you know what I mean by that. And so my conclusion, my sister will share how she feels. I'm sorry, Mark Zuckerberg. An apology is a start, but is never going to be enough. What was done in 2020 with the lockdowns in the media, Biden admin, global collusion is unfortunate and unforgivable. And it's time to make amends. And I know that he's right now, he visited Trump the other day. The reports is that he's interested in playing a role to be a change, a positive change.
We shall see, huh? Listen, I feel like there was a lot of things that entities did, and specifically we're talking about social media and media in general, or at least mainstream media in general, that to me eventually need to be held accountable, because they all, through fear mongering, through censorship, through bully tactics, completely are responsible for the flow of a lot of things that happened, or at the very least contributing in big ways. So
we're gonna start wrapping up, and we're just gonna show you. We're gonna go right back to Instagram, and that's the Perez sisters. Let's type the search bar. You already guys know we've been programming you that on Instagram is Cafecito Break 10.0. 10.0. So Cafecito Break, yes, and now it has the reputation of being more politico. That's us. We did help support the Robert F. Kennedy presidential run by some of our work with the Super PAC American Values that was supporting his presidential run. Let me just see how it looks. Okay, so that's our little faces, and we look so cute. And that's us. with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. doing our famous sister selfie. And that's him.
I'm here today. I'm here to declare myself an independent candidate.
Mi gente, so that's our footage of the day that we met Robert F. Kennedy for the second time, that day in Philly. And, obviously the selfie, but that footage of him saying it. And, we were so happy because we couldn't wait to post it online. And it got no traction. It was one of the worst seen videos. In fact, pictures that get the least amount of views on my platform got more views than Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announcing his presidential run. So
explain that
to us. And then look, if it wasn't that we were already insulted enough, guess what happened? We temporarily lost our 10th channel after we posted about RFK Jr.
It was a no-no.
So not only
RFK Jr.
did we get restricted about on that video, nobody really saw it, but at the same time it was like, y'all bitches went a little bit too far again.
How dare you?
You were doing pretty good since 2021. Then you had to get a little bit too fresh.
We're gonna have to cord you back in.
Let's cord you back in. And for a short time, I couldn't get into my content. They had temporarily wiped it out. Scary. So
Cafecito break tends to be more focused these days around
news and politics and health, freedom.